Not just against the character, but like in yourself.
Yes. That's happened several times, and I think the most poignant time was playing Kyoya. And I'll explain. Before I knew what Oran was, I hadn't heard of it at all. Caitlin Glass, of course, kept telling me, oh, what's coming, I'm going to direct it, it's my favorite show in the world. I'm like, well, I've never heard of it, whatever. I just happened to be time coding episode 8, which time coding is a very technical thing, but it requires that you watch the episode breakdown line by line. And so I watched episode 8, very first, my introduction to Oran was episode 8, the beach house episode, the Kyoya, hey, let me teach you a lesson with my shirt off episode. I was watching it thinking, well, this is cute and funny and zany, and I love the animation style, and I'm kind of glad I accidentally get to time code this, because I may have to watch this. I kind of like it. It's kind of up my alley. I like this kind of light and fluffy but funny, but sophisticated comedy. And then with that scene in the bedroom, where Kyoya, who clearly has no real erotic interest in Haruhi, none whatsoever, in my opinion. Again, just my opinion. If you disagree, you're free to. It's a show. We can all have at it. But that scene, I was like, there's a lot of complicated things going on there that no other comedy that you could find here in the States that was directed towards the same audience would not have the balls to pull it off. And I fell in love with that character because he was so complicated. And again, like Spike in Cowboy Bebop, I have no idea what to make of him. And I'm just like, oh my God, I'm going to try out for this character when he comes. I doubt I'll get it, but I'm going to try. And I fanboyed out over it for months. I mean, the script was done about 6 months before we auditioned, I believe, something like that. And the whole time I'm just waiting, I'm like chomping at the bit, and I had never been so nervous auditioning before, except the very first time I ever did something. And I would say it was just as bad as that time. I wanted it so badly, which I try so hard not to think about. Because as an actor, you can get attached to a character if you know of them beforehand through your fanboyness. And it's just going to break your heart all the more when you don't get it. And in this industry, 99% of the time, you're not going to get it. And worse yet, a friend of yours is, so you can't get pissed. Or at least it's not constructive to. You're like, yeah, you can get pissed all you want. Well, yeah, okay, you get pissed, but you can't do anything about it. Okay, you could do something about it, but anyway. But Kyoya was an example. So then when I got the part, I was absolutely ecstatic. And I just skipped into the studio my first day of recording. And then when I started recording it, the actor in me began to realize, this is not my show. I'm not the director. This is Caitlin's baby. This is Caitlin's dub. I didn't start writing scripts on the series until I had been voicing Kyoya for a while. All the scripts of the first half were written by Monica Real, who played Rain, who was a brilliant writer, by the way. God, she's an amazingly talented person. No one has the right to be that freaking talented. It pisses me off. It's good thing she's sweet. But Kyoya, suddenly, this character that had been such a tantalizing enigma to me as we began voicing him, suddenly made sense. And it was a scary kind of sense, because he reminded me of what it was like being that friend was a blonde guy who was absolutely insane and would just do the craziest stuff. And I would always just watch him. There was nothing more fun in high school than watching my best friend wear himself out. And of course, I was always the mother hen, but I was always a little abstract. I was always a little, I kept everything at arm's length as a kid. It was just my coping mechanism for all the things I had going on in my head that I didn't know how to share. And playing Kyoya brought all that back in such a beautiful way that by the time episode 24 came around, the one where we get the flashback where we see Kyoya and Tatum meet, I cried. And I mean, I cried significantly. And I'll tell you what did it. It was the scene. It wasn't even a line. It was just Tatum was like, hey, we're making such good time. Do you want to see this cool little scene? And it was just a shot where the camera pans back and he has painted this gorgeous rose in this immense space outside of this tiny frame. And I had already recorded the line that he says, the voiceover dialogue leading up to that. And I was into it emotionally, of course, but when she showed it to me, again, in context, a few minutes later, I started weeping. I mean, uncontrollably weeping. And it wasn't a bad thing. I mean, it was beautiful. And Caitlin was like, sweetie, you okay? And I'm like, yes, I don't think I've ever been better. Like, working on that show, and I think that's why that show is so important to me, and why I think it's so important to a lot of people. That show put a very, very confusing time in my life into perspective for the first time. And it's why I always hasten people who are fans of that show now to watch it later. to come back to it in a few years, and it will mean something very different to you, and it should. That's what makes it so damn good. But yes, to answer your question, absolutely. That's the fun thing about acting. It is an adventure. I mean, a lot of people are attracted to the idea of acting, as I was originally, because they see it as an escape from themselves. But the truth is, the deeper you get into it, it's not an escape at all. It's going further in and figuring out what makes you tick and why you feel the way you do and why you do the things you do. And sometimes you learn things about yourselves that's very difficult to swallow. But subjecting yourself to those kind of experiences, I think, forces you to grow as a person. And I know that my experience as an actor, this sounds very dramatic and highfalutin, but it's absolutely true in my case, that getting the chance to play some of the characters I've played, a lot of them, in fact, has made me better than I would have been otherwise, as a person. It's made me more conscious of how complicated life is, and how it's never a good idea to just jump the gun and judge someone based on their actions. Most of the time. It's a good idea to just be open and be patient and wait and let things play out. But that life is always going to throw you for a loop, and that your first assumptions about a person, even yourself, are often going to be wrong. And it's amazing. I never would have thought that. I never would have thought that about myself. But yeah. God, this is holy crap. Thank you for asking that question, though. That's an awesome question. So, Klaus, know me. I have to pick on you in the back. I'm sorry. We don't have time. I know I can talk a long time. Okay, we got about 10 minutes. Klaus know me in the back. You know who Klaus know me is, Eric, right? You win!
So, do you like to follow the original VA closely, or do you prefer to be direct to what you think would be your own thing, or the director's own thing?
I used to think about this in a certain way, and I think about it differently now. First of all, I do whatever the director wants me to do. If the director thinks it's a good idea to follow the Japanese closely, then we do that. But I'm always very conscious of, I don't want to just flat out imitate the Seiyu, because their work is too brilliant and it deserves something better than that. And Josh Greeley said something, a very good friend of mine, a phenomenal actor himself, said something wonderful once on a panel with me. He said, some people tend to think of it, as our relationship to the original voice actor as being a kind of competition, that we're trying to make it better or more appealing than we feel it already is. And that is not true at all. Oh, we've all just gone blind. I want to see their pretty faces. Turn the lights on. There you go. That's good. What is In the beginning, there was. Welcome to the planetarium. Stop that with me. Thank you. That was lighting it so much better somehow. What was I saying? Oh yeah, no. But I really feel that if I'm just imitating the Japanese actor, that's not acting. And it doesn't do the character justice, and it certainly doesn't do the original performance justice. And so I approach it as a stage actor approaches any role, because stage acting, by nature of what it is, it's very rare as a stage actor, which is my background, incidentally. It's very rare that a stage actor gets to originate a character. Oftentimes, you're called upon to act out a role that has been done many times by many people. In the case of, say, a role in Shakespeare, my God, for hundreds of years people have been playing. What new possible ground could there be to break? But you have to find one. And that new ground is not so much you spitting in the face of everything that came before, but saying, I want to make what came before relevant to me. And I've found that the best directors know the best approach is to say, find your own way into this. And oddly, by doing that, I find that that my performance tends to match up with the Seiyu's, because I'm treating the role in the same way he or she was. By just treating it like this is my role, and it's my responsibility to bring my truth to this, and have the faith in the material to put me through it. Does that make sense? Yeah. So, and I used to think, well, let's watch the Japanese and watch it really closely. But then I thought, no, I don't want to imitate it because I find it insulting. And I'm like, why would you pay to, watch? Why would you put yourself through watching imitation? It's much easier to just learn Japanese and watch the original performance. And you should, incidentally. I think it's fascinating for the same reason that, if you've gone to see Hamlet, doesn't mean you're done watching Hamlet. For God's sakes, you should go see it every time it's performed. And some performances you will like, some you won't. But again, multiple interpretations. Source material can sustain you, I promise. to be sensitive to change and to embrace it and to use your imagination to adapt. That's the ultimate message of any art, actually. So, all right, let's see. Question. You, sir, there.
Yeah, if you had a chance, would you be like one of the actual voice actors that you did yourself?
Well, if I had the chance to meet?
Yeah, be one of the Japanese ones.
Oh, I'd love to meet any of the seiyus. There's several. I'd love to meet the seiyu that originated Kyoya. I'd love to meet Sebastian. I'm going to butcher his name. Someone knows it. Daisuke. I want to say Daisuke, and I'm like, no, he was not me. I'd love to meet him. I would love to meet, every single one of them. I think it's really, really cool. And, it kind of makes me want to learn Japanese so that I can, speak to this seiyu in their native tongue, because I think that'd be the ultimately gentlemanly thing to do. But yeah, I would love to. I would jump the chance. I mean, there's so many wonderful actors over there. There's performances I've gotten to hear only because I'm in this business that, God, I would learn so much from them by just getting to sit on top of them. And it would be interesting to discuss the characters we've played and find, where we differed in our opinions and where we suddenly, found, we agree. It'd be really interesting to do that. I would love to sit down and have a conversation with any of the voice actors from Japan that have to voice a role that I also have to do later on. Yeah, it'd be wonderful. I would jump at the chance. Let's see. Okay, you there in the second row.
If you found yourself in a place like in the past that you felt you couldn't move forward with your career, what did you do then?
What would I do if I found myself at an impasse in my career? Well, I guess it depends on what that impasse would be. I imagine the impasse would be one where I just didn't really feel a passion for it anymore. And if that wasn't the case, there was a time in my life where I felt that if I wasn't passionate about something, that it's time to move on. And while that is true sometimes, as I've gotten older and hopefully a little wiser, or maybe just more insane, I find, again, getting back to the idea of it's not about following your passion so much as bringing your passion with you. I don't know that I'll ever get sick of doing this. I think I will just find new things to love about it. And I don't think that'll ever run out because I don't think there's anything implicit about what I do that says there's a ceiling, that eventually it will just run out of stuff to fascinate me. I think as long as I keep myself sharp and my imagination well fed and watered and get enough sleep at night, that I will always hopefully find some way into what I'm doing. If I can't, it's not the fault of what I'm doing, it's my fault for not being able to meet that challenge anymore, and then it is time to move on. But the same problem will simply crop up somewhere else. And this is true of life too, if you keep finding yourself at an impasse in terms of being able to stoke the fire that got you interested, it's really on you. It's your responsibility as a human being with an imagination to light that fire. I think passion is really just nature's way of saying, look how interesting this is. But beyond passion, it's your responsibility to give it meaning, because passion only gets you so far. Passion can only sustain you. There's a lot of calories burned in passion. Eventually those run out. So you have to go and feed yourself. And that's kind of what I mean. So hopefully that will never happen. If it does happen, I think my experiences have given me the tools to continue to find something about it that I love. And that's how I'm able to it's the spirit of adventure, I think. And I don't think I'll ever get sick of that. And as long as I can, bye guys. Is that just a charm? Or is that the happiness bunny?
I'm anti. No, that's just a charm.
Ha! You're anti-honey. That is...
I'm sorry to leave you when you're grown up. I never hate me after ignoring me.
Oh, and I've grown fond of you. What was I saying? Oh, yes. So, yeah, I hope I never come to that impasse, but if I do, it's time to take stock and realize where the fault is with me. All right. Okay, so, that said, I'm sorry. I have no time for more questions. I have to stop. They're telling me to stop. So, thank you for coming and listening to me rant for an hour. You've all been wonderful. Thank you.